So, you're thinking about launching your own independent pharmacy. That is a huge, amazing goal. But let's be real for a second. Those first few years, they can be a total minefield. That's why we're going to break down a playbook, a guide to avoiding the 5 most common and most costly mistakes that new owners make. Let's get right into it.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about what I call the ownership gauntlet. Basically, getting your head in the right space for what's coming. Then we'll dive deep into your financial lifeline. After that, we'll cover the endurance test of growth, how to guard your vision from all the noise, and finally, we'll touch on some unspoken truths of this journey.
Okay, first things first. We have to get real about what you're actually stepping into. This is so much more than a career change. It's a fundamental test of your character.
And this right here really gets to the heart of it. The potential for reward, it's immense, truly life-changing, but it comes hand in hand with a level of demand that's just as massive. Understanding this duality, this push and pull, from the very beginning is absolutely crucial.
This contrast says it all, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the dream, being your own boss, building something for your community, that direct patient impact. But the reality? Well, the reality is a gauntlet that will test every single ounce of your planning and your endurance. And that gap, right there between the dream and the reality, that's where so many new owners get into trouble.
Which brings us right to the first critical mistake. And you guessed it, it's all about the money. More specifically, how you manage that financial lifeline during those early days, which can be absolutely brutal.
Oh man, this is such a classic trap. Everyone gets so excited planning for the grand opening, the ribbon cutting, the celebration, but that's just the starting line. The real race, the marathon, begins the day after, and if you haven't planned for that, you're already behind.
And look, pretty much every new pharmacy goes through these 4 phases, almost without exception. You launch. Then patients slowly start to discover you. That leads to growth. And eventually, you hit stabilization. But here's the most critical point. None of these phases are free. Each one takes time, and each one drains cash.
So this leads to maybe the single most important question you will face as a new owner. How do you build a long enough financial runway to simply survive long enough to reach that stabilization phase? And the answer starts with a huge shift in your mindset. You have to forget about massive scale at the beginning. Your one and only most important goal is survival. Everything else has to be secondary.
So how do you do it? Well, survival means building extreme efficiency into your operations from the second you open your doors. We're talking smart inventory purchasing, a super tight control of overhead, lean staffing. Every single one of these things extends your runway. It buys you more time. I love this quote because it's so direct and just so true. In the beginning, every dollar you waste just speeds up your path to failure. But every dollar you save through efficiency, that buys you one more day in the fight.
Okay, so you've got your finances buttoned up. But the next challenge? Well, it has nothing to do with your bank account. It has everything to do with your willpower. This, my friends, is the endurance test.
We're all obsessed with this idea of fast growth, right? But in the real world, explosive growth can actually hide some really deep, ugly problems. Slow, steady growth, on the other hand, that's a sign of health. It forces you to refine your processes, to get better, and to build a business that can actually last.
And this timeline right here, it shows why just sticking it out is everything. Those first 6 months, they can be so discouraging. But if you keep showing up, keep refining what you do, and keep serving your patients well, that effort starts to compound. And then by year 2, you can start to see that stability you've been fighting so hard for.
So you're surviving and you're persisting. Great! Now you face a brand new threat, a flood of outside opinions. This part is all about guarding your vision by knowing who you should and shouldn't listen to. Look, not all advice is created equal. There's what we call perspective, valuable input from your customers or employees. That's good stuff. But then there's operational wisdom. This is essential guidance from people who have actually been in the trenches, who have built, struggled, and survived. You have got to know the difference.
Because for the really tough, complex issues, I'm talking cash flow, regulations, negotiations, perspective just isn't enough. For that stuff, you need to seek out counsel from those who have navigated these exact challenges and survived. Their wisdom is absolutely priceless.
And this brings us to protecting your ideas when they're still new and fragile. Always remember, momentum speaks louder than intention. Don't waste your time talking about your grand plans, just quietly build them.
Once you have actual results, all that skepticism from other people just becomes irrelevant.
All right, finally, let's talk about something that is rarely discussed out loud, but honestly, it can make or break an entrepreneur. And that is your own personal resilience.
And there's a reason it's not discussed openly, because it's deeply personal, and frankly, it can be painful. It's about the people who are closest to you. This is such a profound insight. Sometimes when you start succeeding, when you start achieving your goals, it can act like a mirror for others. It can force them to look at the goals that they've put on hold. And that can create some really unexpected friction, even with people you love.
So here's the crucial takeaway. You cannot depend on everyone to support you. You just can't. Your drive has to come from within. You have to be your own biggest believer, especially on the days when you feel totally alone.
And that brings us to the final, most important thought of all. If you're a new owner, you have to completely redefine what success means. It's not about profit. It's not about fame. In the beginning, success is one thing and one thing only: survival. Period. So, now you have the playbook. You know the mistakes to avoid, which leaves just one final question. Are you truly prepared to measure your success not by the height of your climb, but simply by your ability to survive?